In this presentation, you will learn about risk. Risk is a generic concept that denotes fear or the threat of something bad happening. According to James Neal, risk generally relates to the possibility of losing a valuable resource. The meaning of risk may also refer to a chance or possibility, for example, risk of exposure, a result or impact, like the risk of smoking, or a dangerous condition. A hazardous waste facility generates a risk. On the basis of involuntary or voluntary events, linguistic interpretations of the term risk have evolved. For example, danger is frequently used to represent an unintentional incident. Peril is used to indicate an intentional one. Despite its broad usage, no single definition on risk can be claimed universally, and there is little chance of a common understanding without deliberate effort to reach an agreement. One of the most broad, ambitious, and contested social theories of risk is the risk society, established by two sociologists, Ulrich Beck and Anthony Giddens. This theory of risk society has been referred in two books by Ulrich Beck, that is Risk Society Towards a New Modernity and World Risk Society. While Giddens writes about risk society in the book The Consequences of Modernity, Modernity and Self-Identity, Self and Society in the Late Modern Age. A risk society is one which we are increasingly living on the edge of, a high technological frontier that no one fully comprehends and which produces a wide range of possible futures. Risk society has its roots in two key shifts that are still impacting our lives today. The first transition is the end of nature, while the second can be characterized as the end of tradition. The end of nature does not imply that the natural environment would vanish. It implies that few, if any, components of the physical universe remain unaffected by human influence. Nature's end in a recent phenomenon, for example, or of course, impossible to pinpoint an exact date, but we can approximate when the end of the world will occur. It occurred as people's anxiety about nature shifted to a different set of concerns. People have worried about what nature could do to humanity for hundreds of years. Earthquakes, floods, epidemics, poor crops, and so on. We stopped caring so much about what nature could do to us and started worrying more about what we have done to nature at some point in the last 50 years or so. In a risk society, the transition is a crucial point of entrance. We no longer live our lives according to fate, a phenomenon Ulrich Beck refers to as individualization. A civilization based on nature and tradition is fundamentally different from earlier forms of industrial society, which served as the foundation for the creation of core intellectual traditions. A risk society is not inherently more unsafe or harmful than other social structures. It is useful to trace the origins of the term risk in this context. Life in the Middle Ages was dangerous, but there was no concept of risk, and no concept of risk appears to exist in any traditional society even today. Risk society is a grand theory of society concerned with the transition from contemporary industrial civilization to a new period marked by technological dangers. Ulrich Beck's phrase of risk society is seen as developing from that of World War II. Beck is specially concerned with new forms of risk that have emerged or may emerge in the future as a result of human behavior. According to Beck, the nature of the dangers we face now has changed. They have been debounded in terms of spatial, temporal, and social elements. Risks are no longer bound by regional or even national borders, but are frequently global in scope. Risks may also have long latency periods, implying that the actual cause of particular threats may lie in the distant past, or, as in the case of nuclear material, may remain with you for thousands of years. And as a result of these spatial and temporal uncontrolled assigning responsibility in a legally relevant manner has become difficult. As pollution, contamination, and other byproducts of manufacturing are caused by civilization rather than natural risks that have historically been examined by hazard specialists. Risk to one's health from the environment is regarded as a social construct. The social structures or systems through which choices are made have grown increasingly significant as we become more conscious of science's limitations. As a result, our foundational sense of safety in the world has been broken, raising questions about society's long-term ability to protect us. Beck's applications of the concepts of risk society in the disciplines of work and political economy have affected scholarly debates on unstable labor and globalization. In The Brave New World of Work, Beck outlines the ramifications of a transition away from class-based social relationships towards a society organized around a risk society. He locates the historical class-based struggle between production factors inside the bounds of nation-states, noting that multinational corporations are increasingly operating without the constraints of organized labor or becoming deinstitutionalized. The Brave New World of Work fundamental premise is that the emergence of dangerous work is due to a global risk society in which labor is being replaced by conditional and flexible working biographies built by individuals in constant stages of transition and self reinvention. Beck suggests that a global citizen civic society be developed to organize labor and human actions around transnational vested interest rather than nationality. Thank you for watching the presentation. Do like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments about this presentation or any other topic you would like to learn more about.